I want to tell you an American story for when life looks like failure. Have you ever had a moment when your life looked like failure? Vocational challenges, parenting challenges. By the way, does parenting ever feel like you are really winning? Whether it is marriage difficulties or difficulties with friends or betrayal of broken trust, money challenges, the bank account is too small to pay the bills, evil governments are corrupting the land you love. Maybe investment projects and DeFi have been failing. Or maybe you're one of the few who has it all. You made it, but you wake up one day and it all feels meaningless. Like you missed out on something, and that's the failure. It's common to the human experience to see a lot of failure in life. So there will be something for all of us here. The year is 1607. The world is a much different place. This is the same year that Jamestown was established in Virginia as the first English settlement in what has become the United States. An Englishman who was raised in the shipping industry, likely in the world of a company owned by his grandfather, is commissioned to explore the oceans for a shipping lane to make travel and commerce with Asia easier, seeking the Northeast Passage. However, that shipping lane would have to find a way through the Arctic Circle. Explorers, such as Columbus, as early as the 15th century, had been seeking to discover this passage, to expand economies and trade, to build up their communities and their nation's wealth. If you could go on a ship built in the 1600s, sailing through undiscovered Arctic waters wrought with freezing cold temperatures, freezing cold water, dangerous waves, seas of ice as far as the eye could see, and then icebergs, which we know are often in greater mass out of sight and under the water than what is visible. Would you go for the good of your people? Some would, rightly out of bravery and the same spirit. Some might do it like an adrenaline junkie, a bit of a life YOLO. I understand, I have been that before. Hired as a captain, he set sail with his oldest son, leaving his wife and 2 children behind and a crew of 10. The ship's name? Hopewell. So he sets off on a daring adventure, one yet to be successful, risking his life, his son's life and crew, leaving wife and children behind into Arctic waters for discovery. Immediately, there were problems with his crew. Conflicts, disagreements. He had to demote 2 of his crewmen. And the crew was, of course, unhappy with the replacements. Now, stop there for a second. If you have ever led anything, isn't it true that conflict with your team is one of the first obstacles you have to overcome? You can imagine the quarrels over what paths to take, how much food to ration, how much to put the exploration's crew at risk. The disgruntled seamen who didn't want to submit to the authority of the captain. Yet they sailed on, eventually encountering so much sea ice that they could not sail around, and for all of their efforts, returned to England. Then a second mission to accomplish the same goal, all of the same problems and risks, only to encounter sea ice that they could not surpass, and to return to England. To top it all off, when he returned the second time to the company paying for the exploration, not only was the company unhappy with his results, they denied him from sailing again. The company that likely was founded by his own bloodline fired him, even after the tremendous effort and endurance of 2 sacrificial voyages. You can imagine that the days after that weren't easy, so close to success, so much risked only to be cast aside. Thankfully, those failures aren't the end of the story. The man's name is Henry Hudson. He was commissioned by the Dutch East India Company in 1609 to find the Northeast Passage to Asia. Again, sea ice, but he sailed on, finding his way past Canada and Newfoundland, even all the way down to the settlement at Jamestown, before returning north and sailing directly up a river in search of the passage he hoped to find. He never found the passage, but the Dutch who hired him founded New Amsterdam, where the Hudson River meets the sea on the waters of Hudson's discovery. Do you know what New Amsterdam eventually became in the development of American history? New York. the greatest melting pot in the history of the world. In more historical years, a beacon of strength, prosperity, potential, and freedom, a gateway to America. Hudson's failures only paved the way for the opportunity to sail on. And friends, might it be that the failures you have faced, or the failures, whether perceived or real, are the opportunities and learning experiences for you to sail on. I have often said about myself, all of my successes really are the fruit of all of my failures. Might it be that Hudson's desire to explore the great unknown in order to lift up his nation and people is the same patriotism that we need to lift up the nations and people to where we're all from, helping our communities to build something great? Might it be that the American potential that was set ablaze from Hudson's discovery is in all of us, and the risk just needs to be taken to realize what was always possible, but held captive by fear? Might it be for some of you who are maybe despondent because of your failures, need to lift up your eyes to the hope that Hudson's story brings to all patriots? In American history, we have the Hudson River and Hudson Bay as forever landmarks of his success. None of our marks of success need to be as historical or as significant as his. But who would have known that a man cast aside by his company, his bloodline, failing multiple times, would leave such an inspiring mark of endurance and success on the other side of failure, encouraging all of us to sail on? Think about it. Thank you for listening. As always, this content is brought to you by the Old Glory Coin Token. If you want to support our effort to preserve freedom for the next generation, please consider holding the Old Glory Coin Token and sending these messages along to people you know who want to do the same.